I know you real critical of Juneteenth. Can you speak on that?
Piece of shit. Piece of shit. I'm insulted. Let me tell you why. 50-some years ago, I was an intern at a D.C. think tank, and considering the subject matter, which was what led to the passage of the Civil and Voting Rights Acts in the 60s, what impact did the civil rights demonstrations actually have on events? One of my assignments was what happened to the niggers in Texas. Why were they so long delayed in understanding that they were no longer slaves? Well, when I looked, what seems to have happened from the log entry of the U.S. naval officer, I think he was a lieutenant commander who was acting captain of a warship. What happened is he pulls into Galveston Harbor and he sees black stevedores working on the docks, and they have people with lashes, whips, beating these workers. And he brings his first lieutenant. He says, what the devil is going on? They're being treated like slaves. So when the lieutenant goes down there with the Marine Guard, he finds out that these niggas think they're still slaves. So what winds up happening is the commander of this U.S. naval vessel dictates a letter, and he has copies of it made. And 20 of those letters have the date of June 19, 1866. 2 of those letters have the date of June 19, 1865. Which is right after the Civil War. The other one is 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, 2 years and some months, 2 years and 5 months after the 13th Amendment is passed out to the states to end slavery. 2 years after, well, a year and a half after Appomattox, when Lee surrendered to Grant, a year and a quarter after Sherman took Johnson's surrender, and the war was over, and these niggas still have not found out they were slaves. To compound the whole mess, General Sheridan had sent a unit of black cavalrymen from Jackson, Tennessee, and Memphis, Tennessee, down to Texas to announce to the niggas that they were no longer slaves. So they would not believe their black military brethren when they got told they weren't slaves, and they remained slaves for another year after they didn't have to. So I'm thinking that when I grew up, everybody used to know that, and they'd ridicule Juneteenth as that's those crazy, ignorant fools down in Texas that want to celebrate being a slave a year after they didn't have to be. So what was wrong with them? So we thought it was a peculiar affliction of folk down there in Texas dealing with their circumstances. So I was quite surprised when this movement developed that we need to celebrate Juneteenth. Why do you want to celebrate black folk being slaves for a year or 2 years or 3 years longer than they were supposed to be? Next thing, it dawned on me, I said, oh, this is one of those gay pride months, June, where they have all of these rainbow celebrations. And if you see the Juneteenth emblem, it's a fist. But guess what it is now? It's a rainbow fist. It's an excellent opportunity for there to be a black holiday that is co-opted and taken into the theology of this rainbow cult. So another connection between black folk and this cult can be established and claimed. You go into Black History Month in February. In February, that's where they have gay pride celebrated all over the country. You go to Aspen and they have gay pride ski races. They have gay pride events in Denver. And that's in February, and that's supposed to be Black History Month. So what time is this where you get this association between a century and a half of people saying it's wrong to treat black folk in this particular kind of way? We have to do better. So you get that goodwill and you associate it with something else. It's like Christmas. The early Christian church did not celebrate December 25th as Christ's birthday. It was celebrated at the end of February or early March. It's still celebrated in the Middle East with certain Christian denominations. But also to be celebrated on December 25th was Al Samain, which was a pagan holiday that the Druids used to celebrate. Odin was born on December 25th. Osiris, the Egyptian god, was born on the 25th. You have a situation where Mithras, the god of the Roman legions, was born on the 25th, and the pagans would not stop celebrating on the 25th. So what the Catholic Church did is it just summarily moved Christ's birthday from February, March to be celebrated on the same day that this pagan holiday was celebrated. So that pagan holiday is now looked at as a very sacred Christian holiday 1,000 years after the fact. So what happens is if you set a black holiday and make it a black national holiday to be celebrated the same time as this rainbow cult series of holidays, then people get to associating the two. And if you see the fist for Juneteenth and the fact that it is now decorated in a rainbow color scheme, you get the point. It was an opportunity to do an end run and further sink this cult into the fabric of American society. Take another thing, the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill. It doesn't do anything for black or colored America at all, and it doesn't even require a killing. Typically, a mob does a lynching. We think of it as a anti-black event, but you have to remember the old-time Western movie. Boys, ain't nobody gonna hang nobody in my jail until we has a fair trial, then we'll hang him. So part of the lynching process was in the wild, wild West and other places on the American frontier where white criminal elements were lynched by mobs who wanted a frontier justice situation. So in any event, what happens is lynching requires a mob. It requires a killing, right? Not under the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill. It doesn't require a mob. One person can be found guilty of lynching. You don't even need a death. If somebody is kidnapped or beat up, that can qualify as a lynching. So now what they did is they interjected sexual identity in this whole equation. So instead of you envisioning black people getting lynched and it's a horror that needs to be stopped, it's a hate crime, what winds up happening is, let's say, some black guy breaks up with his old lady and he's out at a club with some of his homies and he's over dancing with a PYT thing in a tight short dress with interesting boobs and hoop earrings and braids down to her butt, and he's dancing with her and they've been exchanging spit in the shadows and drinking wine, and then he notices that PYT has a heart on it. And he said, "Man, you a dude." And he busts pretty young thing in the mouth. That now is a federal lynching that brings in the FBI. See how they co-opted something and they turned it into something different. And that's what I think they set up this whole Juneteenth thing for. And if they want to celebrate something, why don't you celebrate the black troops that behave with outstanding heroism at Milliken's Bend? Why don't you celebrate the 54th Massachusetts volunteers for what they did down there in the Carolinas trying to take that fort? I mean, there are a lot of things that you want to celebrate. So, I mean, it wasn't the end of slavery. They had to negotiate some treaties with the American Indian tribes to end that. And the 13th Amendment was ratified by Tennessee in July, which made the 13th Amendment in effect. If you took the members of the Union, but you didn't have enough states to ratify that until the following year, if it came around to the old Union, rather than just those that were still part of the Union after the Civil War, before there was the reconciliation. So, I mean, there are all kinds of things you could celebrate besides niggas being a whole long period of time after the fact finding out that they weren't slaves. So, I mean, you know, it's crazy. What is there to celebrate?